The quintessential Professor Emenike Ejiogu and his innovations. In a country where many professors are known for theorizing only on paper, Emenike Ejiogu stands out as that professor who has shown unwavering commitment to translating theories into innovations that solve nagging societal problems. Emenike Ejiogu, a professor of electrical engineering, uniquely blends theory with practice in a manner that collapses the wall between academia and the industry. His innovative disposition could be traced to his childhood experiences.
Being the fourth child of a five-sibling family, I would say I was lucky to have those who were in front of me, who I was looking up to. So before I could even enter primary school, there were those who were already trying to teach me one thing or the other. So, and made me aware of the need to pursue excellence. So I will primarily attribute my pursuit of knowledge to my family in the first instance. And then of course, the many teachers, those who are taught in the primary school, also were a source of inspiration. And these were very enthusiastic Nigerians, impacting knowledge to young minds and inspiring us. I dismantled my father's, went to his bedroom, took his torchlight and dismantled it completely, took the batteries and went to a neighborhood electrical shop and got some wires. And then I was able to wire my first electrical circuit with the switches and then the bulb from the batteries. I was able somehow, I wired it, and it was quite exciting that I was able to independently build my first electric circuit. And that kind of set my mind to pursuing more about anything to do with electronics engineering.
Prof. Ejiogu was trained in Nigeria and Japan. In Nigeria, he obtained his bachelor's and master's degrees in engineering from the prestigious University of Nigeria in 1987 and 1990 respectively. He then proceeded to Japan to obtain his Doctor of Philosophy degree, PhD, from the Shinshu University, Matsumoto, Japan in 1994.
When I was filling my JAMB form, Government College of Warren in those days, 1982, I filled for the first option, second option, third option. I filled electrical engineering. I didn't have any other option than that. And for the option for university, I filled University of Nigeria and Nsukka, first choice, second choice, and third choice. So I will mention one of my academic mentors. In fact, an academic father, if I may say so, in the name of Professor Marcel Ago, the then Dr. Marcel Ago, who taught us from the third year, fourth year in the Department of Electrical Engineering, UNN. His approach to teaching was very practical. It will make you learn the practical, but also learn the theory. And I asked him specifically to be my supervisor for the final year project. And graciously he accepted and started guiding me on final year project.
I taught him undergraduate courses in power electronics, electric drives, control, and computer structures. Among his classmates, he was very, very brilliant. It can easily be noticed from his contributions in the classroom and his performance in the laboratories. So he finished very well as an undergraduate student with a very good degree.
We were able to use several inverters as at then. You can imagine how many years ago, and actually use those inverters to power devices in the lab, and made it a huge success. So by the time I was going to Japan, I think I already had a practical frame of mind The mark of becoming a professor in Japan is that you must, have a lab. You can have Suzuki laboratory, Tanno laboratory in the case of my supervisor. Your entire life revolves around the laboratory of your supervisor. If you're not having anything to do in class, like classwork, the place you're expected to be is to be in the lab.
Professor Ejiogu's practical approach to academics is further enhanced by his academic career in Japan, where he spent over 25 years of active academic and industrial life, leading many high-tech research activities and managing the innovation and commercialization of products.
During my PhD work, I was already accustomed to a laboratory environment whereby, despite the fact that you're doing a PhD work towards your graduation, you must essentially be involved in doing other projects in the lab, because the supervisors in these labs usually will go out and bring joint research projects with industries that are around, medium scale, small scale, big scale industries. And usually these are practical oriented problems that those industries are facing. So I was already used to that, and after my PhD work, got an appointment with a university, one of the oldest various universities in Japan, more than 100 years old. And I became an assistant professor. In trying to solve these industrial problems, it just goes beyond publishing papers. In fact, you are even restricted from publishing papers if you are doing a very important work for an industry. So there was this company that was working on heating system. They wanted to develop a system that's more efficient than the usual nylon wire. But this company wanted to do something more efficient. So they started the work and they focused on use natural material. And what they focused on was on cotton wool. The problem they had was these materials broke easily. This cotton wool was carbonized into what we call activated carbon, that made it more efficient in energy use. And secondly, it was enclosed in quartz material. And so it was a very innovative system, and I and the laboratory people that were involved in the work and the company were able to apply for patents both in Japan, the US, and also in China.
To date, Professor Ejiogu maintains a very strong collaboration with the Japanese industry and academia, which he has been harnessing to improve the quality of research and innovation at the University of Nigeria.
こんにちは。イジョグさんは真面目で良い人という印象です。日本ではエネルギー分野を日本の立命館大学の大学院含め大学で教えた人です。また、ベンチャー企業と共同開発をして技術的なアドバイスを行っています。在日ナイジェリア商工会議所では電気関係のテクニカルアドバイザーとして活躍している人です。ナイジェリア大学でもさらなるキャリアアップを目指して頑張ってください。
Driven by the desire to apply the experiences he acquired in Japan to solve critical challenges in his homeland, Professor Ejiogu returned to Nigeria and joined the services of the University of Nigeria. At the University of Nigeria, where he has spent over a decade of illustrious academic career, Prof. Ejiogu has made indelible imprints in research, administration, and grantsmanship.
Part of my scholarship money was spent on publications, journals, and books that I was sending back home. So I never actually forgot where I came from in terms of academic origin. And so, I had the option to stay, continue staying in Japan, but my interaction with my supervisors, my family, and also other colleagues kind of motivated me to say, okay, it's mid-career. I was 45, so 2011. That was already a decade plus of being in Japan, 2 decades plus of being in Japan, and
So mid-career, I came and joined the UNN 2011. Of course, still maintaining my contact in Japan. So, to answer that question, simply put, I will attribute it to the desire to make sure that the excellence that I feel I have experienced elsewhere can also be translated back home, because as they say, East-West, home is the best. I always had this feeling that, okay, if I'm in a village and I'm invited to the King's Palace, okay, and I go there in the King's Palace, I'm given all the comfort, I'm also working in the King's Palace, and then I find out that my father's compound is leaking. It has no roof and all the rest of them. There is a limit of the joy I will have actually in being in the King's Palace, or another rich man's place, while my own home, knowing that I can also contribute, I'll leave it that way. So that's an analogy I would really like to give. Yes, I've been in Japan, I studied there, and I felt that, okay, fine, all those excellencies, all those practical work and all the rest of them, is it not possible for us to also, for me in particular, to kind of translate that into what was happening down home? So basically, that's the motivation.
Professor Ejiogu has, in the past 10 years, attracted grants valued at over $7.3 million, 830 million naira, 52,000 euros, and 16,700 pounds. Notable among the grants include a $6 million World Bank Africa Center of Excellence for Sustainable Power and Energy Development (ASPED), 30 million naira NCC Professional Chair in Communication, and the 52,000 euros EU ECOWAS Scholarship for UNN students.
Elaborately, I was able to lead a multidisciplinary team of UNN staff to answer to a World Bank and AFD call for a research grant based on several thematic areas. The thematic area, of course, which we chose was on energy. So simply what we did was to take what we've been doing in my lab, which is essentially new energy systems, power devices, and industrial electronics, and expand it into a proposal which eventually won UNN the $6 million African Center of Excellence for Sustainable Power and Energy Development, of which I'm the pioneer director. And the center is a one-stop shop for both conventional energy research and new energy research, both in materials, in systems, in control, and all that. So that's one of the things we have done. And also using the grant, using the center as a pedestal, we've been able to also attract other grants. Specifically, we have an EU grant, that is called EU ECOWAS grant, which is being administered by the British Council in Nigeria, which is worth £52,000. We have what is called TLEAP, which is Transition Energy Access, which is worth about $17,000 US. And we also have grants from other partners, both in America and all that put together. I think in the past several years, we've been able to get grant that is close to $7 million US dollars. Of course, the major part of it is $6 million World Bank AFD Center of Excellence grant. So these are some of the things we've been trying to, some of the contributions we've tried to make, such that people around know how to go about writing grants. There are other small grants that people that have attached themselves to the center or attached to my lab have been able to get. So the ability to write grants successfully has been, what I can say, has been one of the contributions I've made after joining the University of Nigeria, Nsukka.
Professor Ejiogu is a very rare character. Not only is he a very well-trained engineer and administrator, he is a very, very benevolent character. I got to know him in 2018 more closely when we were writing the proposal for the establishment of the center. And some of the things he was doing were looking very, very rare in this climb. For example, there was no funding for writing the proposal, and he footed the bills. He was able to pay for everything. He didn't mind putting in his money as long as results are achieved. And even when we won the center in 2019, we didn't have money to run the center. Money was not released to Nigerian centers because of some administrative issues at the federal level. But he continued to fund the center with his own private resources. So somebody like that is a very, very progressive person. He has a progressive mindset, and he has mentored many, many young academics in this university, trying to help them to understand how things are done, especially leveraging on his experience while working in other parts of the world, especially in Japan, where he was able to grow his academic culture. So overall, I can tell you that he is a very, very amiable character, a very dedicated person who is highly results oriented and a go-getter. Yeah, again, he has achieved most of the results that were expected, and in some cases surpassed them. He's an expert in building teams. He knows how to bring people together and get them to work even when he's not around. Everybody knows his roles and what needs to be done, and so on and forth. So he has been able to build a team that is very, very functional, and that is why we are achieving the results we are achieving, both in terms of the research results, but also in the areas of our mandate, our core mandate of how to solve the problems and challenges of power supply in sub-Saharan Africa. We have developed numerous prototypes. We are talking with industries. We have grown our sectoral partnership base from 10 in 2019 to 52 in 2024. And in most cases, these agencies are coming to us rather than we go into them. So you can imagine what it means for you to be noticed at the level of multinational companies coming to us to say, let us enter an agreement, an MOU, so that you can solve a research problem for us.
A zestful personality, Professor Ejiogu's leadership profile is action-soaked, as exemplified by the numerous positions he has held at the University of Nigeria. He has served as the head of Department of Electrical Engineering, Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Center Leader, Africa Center of Excellence for Sustainable Power and Energy Development, Executive Chairman, University of Nigerian Lion Water Enterprise, Advisor to the Vice Chancellor on the special projects, and still counting.
I took up the headship of the Department of Electrical Engineering, and for 3 years I piloted the affairs of the department, and I introduced a number of innovations. Team teaching, for example, whereby each course was assigned to at least 2 lecturers, so that the students get to benefit, from more than one, lecturer. It made it easier for the lecturing staff to also work together with each other to see that they deliver the course content for the students. One of the other things we introduced also was to make sure that there were research groups within the department, depending on the area of interest of people, and that research group was also supposed to integrate the students that are working under us as supervisees. So those are some of the innovations that I brought along with me from Japan. And beyond the administrative, some of these administrative innovations, I also utilized my extensive collaboration in Japan to bring some joint research work to the department. And we were able to actually attract, I think, lower solar-based power supply, power system for the Department of Electrical Engineering, which was commissioned in 2014 by the then Minister of Power, Professor Emenike, who was a one-time VC of the university as well. So that was also one of the achievements during my 3 years of headship. And in addition to that, I also was able to, using my contact in Japan, to attract a university-wide project, which was for the equipment of the medical center.
If I should assess him by his position as head of department, then I will say that he performed excellently, because he was able to bring in a lot of new things into the Department of Electrical Engineering. For instance, he introduced new labs like the Power Electronic Devices Lab, the Innovation Center Lab. These are labs that he actually introduced when he was the head of department. And the lab actually helped a lot of people, students, and even other departments in terms of learning. So he did very well. There are other incentives he brought to the department. He was able to liaise with the university and bring in a lot, even the inverter system that we were using then. He was the one that attracted it into the department. And then there are so many other things, administrative issues that he handled that were very, very okay. And essentially he handled these things on his own. For me, I can classify him as a kind man, not just because he was then the head of the department, but he has that natural kindness, because he was able to go out and buy books for staff. He buys textbooks and gives to staff freely without collecting money from the department.
First of all, I know him since my undergraduate. There was this software that we were using. People were coming from Sokoto, from Futo, and before you come to use that software, you have to book out of the country. He brought that thing into the University of. He came here as the head of department, gave us solar plants, and then with his students, he also is the first person to create a lab. In fact, in my history, I never knew that as a professor is supposed to own a lab.
By the time I took over as the chairman of the board of Lion Water, the place was in debt, simply put. So it was a very tough assignment. But I said, well, I have to call upon my long experience in Japan, deploying technical skills, and then some of the people that I've worked with in Department of Electrical Engineering, we were able to make sure that the production line was up and running. As dean of faculty, we tried to again expand the internal generator building. One of it was the auto clinic, which is of the automobile repair center. And then also one of the oldest journals of many Nigerian universities is the Nigerian Journal of Technology, which we call Nigotech. For the first time in its history, we were able to make sure that this journal was now indexed by Stockholm. And by so doing, we increased the leadership. And also, for the first time in a decade, we were able to return profit. In fact, as at the time I was handing over, we had not much less than 7 million naira in the account. So for the first time in history, during my leadership, we were able to get a distinguished lecturer, Engineer Mrs. Ken Eget, who now provides very resounding lecture. And not just that, they keep coming not just the faculty of engineering, but to establish for the whole university one of the 6 centers of AI, that is artificial intelligence. So UNN can now boast of a regional center of artificial intelligence by virtue of the Abamakoli lecture series, which was organized during my internship.
Professor Emenike Ejiogu is a man of the people. He was elected the dean of the faculty in July 2022, and then ends his tenure on the 31st of July 2024. Emenike Ejiogu, when he assumed office, saw the faculty as his home. Professor Ejiogu is a man that he doesn't discriminate. He doesn't believe that you are from this place or this place, provided you are competent. He assigns duties to those who he feels they can do it, irrespective of where you came from. Whether you are an Imo, whether you are an Soka, whether you are an Abia or wherever, he believes that the important thing is to get the desired goal. That is Professor Ejiogu for you.
Professor Ejiogu is a troubleshooter with a unique power of foresight. At the University of Nigeria, he established the Laboratory of Innovative Electronics, Power Devices and New Energy Systems, LIPNES.
The Laboratory for Industrial Electronics, Power Devices and New Energy Systems, which was eventually renamed Laboratory of Innovative Electronics, Power Devices and New Energy Systems, because of the increasing aspect of electronic work we are now doing in the laboratory. So you can see the industrial aspect of it, which are organized under industrial electronics, and then you can see the power devices aspect of it, and then you can see also the new energy aspect of it. So this kind of, in a nutshell, became a one-stop shop for research work that was going to be applied in the industry, any type of industry. And that laboratory became a hub for those of my students who wanted to do actual practical work.
The laboratory has been at the forefront of design, fabrication and testing of a large-scale waste-to-energy gasification systems suitable for the modular supply of power to the whole UNN. Presently, his team are operationalizing a 500 kVA system that includes both the gasification system and the waste processing and automatic feeding of RDF into the gasifier. Professor Ejiogu has in his kitty over 10 international patents or intellectual properties in engineering. One of the patents was granted in the 27 countries of the European Union, the USA, China, South Korea, South Africa, Nigeria, and India. Professor Ejiogu lives an impactful academic life wrapped in the grandeur of quality mentorship. He has supervised and co-supervised 15 PhD holders and over 30 master's students, most of whom are making significant impact in Nigerian and Japanese industries. He has published over 100 papers in high-impact journals, the majority of which he co-authored with his lecturers, students, and mentees. Professor Ejiogu's contributions in the academia and the industry have not gone unnoticed. His cap is studded with a garland of awards, some of which include the Japanese government Mombusho Research Scholar Award, NCC Professional Chair Award, EU ECOWAS Scholarship Award, just to mention but a few. Professor Ejiogu is a member of over 12 professional bodies, including the New York Academy of Sciences, USA, member Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, USA, member Japan Institute of Electrical Engineers, Tokyo, Japan, member European Power Electronics Association, registered engineer, Council for Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, and member Nigeria Society of Engineers. Despite his outstanding achievements, Professor Ejiogu is hungry for more impact.
We've collaborated in the field of digital manufacturing, mainly leveraging on 3D printing technologies and 3D scanning technologies. We've also worked together on clean energy sources, essentially on hydrogen. The outcome of these collaborations are the setup of an advanced study program at the postgraduate level on additive manufacturing. We've also set up 3D printing labs. We've both set up a consortium, an African-wide based consortium, where we're looking at the development of a hydrogen economy across the African continent. I will describe Professor Ejiogu as a highly resourceful gentleman. He's hardworking, he's a good mentor, he knows what what it takes to be able to run an institution. Given his experiences, rather global experiences from Asia and in Africa, I see him as a critical asset for higher educational institutions.
My name is Kanyamumba Libat. I come from the eastern part of Africa. I come from Uganda. I'm a student at African Center of Excellence for Sustainable Power and Energy Production, SPED, under the leadership of Professor Emenike Ejiogu. Professor Ejiogu, we normally describe him as a humble man. That's the common term we normally use. He listens to students and he addresses student issues promptly. So he's a very resourceful man, so his mentees really can learn a lot from him.
At this critical time, when Nigeria is in dire need of practical solutions to its numerous challenges, people like Professor Emenike Ejiogu are needed in positions of authority to drive innovative revolution that will help Nigeria realize its dream of becoming a productive nation.
Professor Emenike Ejiogu, let's come to you for your opening comments.
Thank you very much. Yes, the issues being discussed are very serious issues that have affected all of us over the years. These are to do with, number one, the technical know-how and human resources available to even maintain the system that we are inherited from the past. That's number one. Of course, generally as a country, we have the propensity to import everything that we need. Some of what have been discussed here by fellow guests borders on the fact that we do not have the technical wherewithal to maintain, talking less of producing some of these equipment that they mentioned here. In that atmosphere, of course, we will just be suffering what we are suffering today. Be it this collapse, be it that we don't have reactors. These reactors are circuit and power system elements that maintain the level of voltages across the power system. So if we don't manufacture these things locally, there's no way we meet up with the maintenance requirements. We can't be in a situation to do what we call preventive maintenance. And in power systems, if you're not able to do preventive maintenance, what has been happening to us will keep on happening to us. And for us to be able to do preventive maintenance, it means we have to have the capacity to have these devices and systems. We have to have fundamentally the capability and the capacity to manufacture some of these very critical power components, especially when we want to run a system that covers thousands and thousands of kilometers.
I would like to see a University of Nigeria that lives up to its tenets in terms of the philosophy and the motto of the university, namely to seek truth, teach truth, and also to preserve truth. And the motto, of course, is to restore the dignity of man. I'd like to see a University of Nigeria that can deliver its academic responsibilities regardless of whatever circumstances we have. And that is digitizing the teaching and learning environment. That's number one. Then in terms of research, we would like to do a research that are impactful to the society. Okay, not just doing research for purposes of publishing papers, but actually solving the problem for the society. Okay, and then, as we all know, the university is supposed to be universal. Over the years, departments and faculties don't even have any foreign staff or foreign students. So we like a university that actually reflects what it is, a universal place for us to learn.